Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic. I am your host, Kathy Hackle. And today we are going to talk about a lot of different things happening in the social media space, in the tech space, gaming, even shopping technology. And I'm joined by my guest co-host, Lee Keebler. Lee, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Spring's been rough. I wish that of all the technology we could figure out like seasonal allergies. That'd be nice, but like other than that, it's been a good time. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Time. Well, I hope AI can solve that for you.
I doubt it. I have no faith that I think this is just like the plight of man. And we just have to
live with it, until you become a robot yourself, then you won't have
what is it? The only two things you can't dodge are death and taxes. I'd like to amend seasonal allergies to that.
Seasonal allergies.
I feel like those are the three things.
Love it. So yeah, I mean, lots of news to talk about. You and I over the weekend chatted a lot about something called AirChat.
Yes.
Which, I'll kind of like brief people.
I blame you. Bit. I didn't know anything about this. And you sucked me into a weekend's worth of social media. Shame on you.
Shame on me. You did the work for me because then eventually I was like, okay, I'm checking out. And you were like, I'm still testing it. So just for background for people, there's this new kind of like conversational network or live, social audio network called AirChat. It's an app that kind of has been in beta for a while, but kind of started really getting we're starting to get invites over this weekend. And, I actually saw a couple invites coming in from from people I knew from Summit at Sea. But the first time I got an invite, I disregarded it. I was like, what is this? Like, I had no context at that point. But then some folks started talking about AirChat and kind of people started really commenting. So then I got another invite. I got in. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. It's conversational, etc. And then I sent you an invite, right? I sent a couple invites to a couple of friends just so they could test it out as well and kind of explore. Because it gave me, like, for people that haven't gone into AirChat or played with it, right? It gave me initially, like my initial gut reaction was like, oh, it reminds me of Clubhouse, right? But Clubhouse was different. Clubhouse,
it was,
which, came, during the pandemic, huge hit. Everyone was on Clubhouse. Everyone wanted an invite to Clubhouse because it was like exclusive to get in. It was hard to get in and stuff. And then obviously once everything came back to normal, like people were like, I don't have time to be in these audio rooms the whole time listening to people talk about whatever is on their mind.
Well, I think part of it was like we were so sequestered to Zoom calls at work that it's like I don't really feel like doing that after work. I think that worked against them as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think, hype and then huge investments and over bloated expectations of what it could be and become. So, I think that also the fact that they were so exclusive at the beginning created that people wanted to be on it, but also a level of people being like, I don't want to be on it. It's too, like it doesn't it's not for me kind of mentality.
One of the things that I think heard it the most was there was a lot of, and I don't have another word for this, like gatekeeping. There was a lot, like you would find areas that you wanted to participate in, but unless you were the popular kid picked first for dodgeball, like you just didn't make it to a place where you could get your voice heard. That's, I will say, of all of the things that I have thoughts of on AirChat, that is the thing that they did solve. Like you can have a voice. I also will say their invitation structure, whoever wrote it, they were trying to make it feel very like authentic and casual, and it came off feeling like spam.
Yes.
I thought when you sent me an invite, I thought this isn't real. Kathy's.
Someone hacked Kathy's phone.
Yeah. And I can't, it's weird. And I feel like this is kind of like that new Turing test, maybe. I can't tell you what about it made me feel like it was fake.
Yeah.
But there was something about it that as I read it, it gave me hesitation. I didn't immediately go, oh, Kathy's inviting me to this new thing. Okay, fine. Yeah, that stuck out to me because even as I sent a couple of invites to people who wanted to check it out, I immediately followed up a text message with them and say, yeah, this is me. This is the invite that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that strange.
That's why I disregarded it at first. I was like, what is this? But then when I kind of figured out, oh, this is what that is, then like I went in and then sent you and a couple other people invites. So for people that kind of want to better understand, it's an app where pretty much you talk into it, you record what you're saying, and the voice recognition and voice transcription is really good, I have to say.
It is.
Really, that part I'm like really impressed. And kind of you kind of say what you're thinking. You reply via voice as well, so you hear people's tone and emotion when they're responding. I have mine kind of going a little bit faster than normal voice speed, so you can change
it actually defaults, and this confused a lot of people, including myself. It defaults to 2 times speed because people typically, when they talk a little bit slower, because as you're using this application, I do think this is super helpful. It forces you to think about what you're saying and what you're putting out there, as opposed to giving you the ability to draft and edit what it is that you're wanting to say. You kind of just have this set period of time, and you try to get it right the first time. If you don't, you drag it over the trash can, you do it again. But there's no going back and like fine tuning it. It kind of works a little bit like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah. That's what they say, a walkie. Like if you go to like the App Store, and try to get it downloaded, it says like a walkie-talkie for social or something.
It is like a walkie-talkie to a bunch of people who want to talk about a specific subject. It's not perfect, but there are aspects of the application that are so incredibly smooth that it really is impressive. There are other aspects of the application where I'm confused why they put the development time into it at all, because it just doesn't play. And then there are missing aspects of the application that terrify me. Like I'm actually, I spent most of the second half of my weekend angry at the application.
That's really interesting. I mean, and you were trapped at home because of allergies.
Yeah,
right?
because
so
I was,
you had a lot of spare time to focus on this. It's interesting. So when I got in, first vibes was like, it reminds me of Clubhouse. So I mean, I was like, is social audio back? Like, what does this mean? Because I did like the intimacy of hearing people's voices. I was like, oh, that's how he sounds, or that's how she sounds. Like I could read into more intent, let's say, more context into what they were saying from an emotional perspective. So I thought, as podcasters ourselves, like, how can we use this? Like, what are the uses for this app, right? How does it not become the next Clubhouse? How does it not crash and burn? So that was my initial reaction. So I immediately reached out to the CEO, the co-founder, Brian, who used to be the chief product officer at Tinder. And hey,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Brian, I said, hey, I'm writing something for Forbes. I want to write about what this is. He sent me some great quotes. He explained like they don't view it as a social network. They view it as a conversational network, people to be able to kind of express themselves. I connected with a few other users. They gave me some really good, story, like things about like, for example, text. You can't really interpret feeling in text as well. It's really easy to misinterpret. YouTube is like your full self, like video, audio, like everything together, and you got to be on it. And not everyone wants to be on video all the time, right?
Right.
So voice is something that maybe, there's still like spaces in Twitter or X, there's still live like social audio there, but with X's numbers kind of declining, I feel like not many people are going to those things.
Right.
Maybe it's certain people that are going to those audio rooms.
It is Twitter.
So, yeah.
It is Twitter-like.
Yeah.
But it is like an evolving conversation
Mhm.
that doesn't have to be had live, and it's something that can be returned to and talked through. It's very strange. And I mean that in a good way. There isn't anything like it.
Mhm.
As someone who during, COVID lockdown, I actually leveraged Clubhouse to to like bring audience calls to a podcast that I was hosting. So like that was one of the ways, because you could call people up and you could select and kind of like moderate in that fashion. And that was very much like it was like a group TED talk in a way. Where this is not that. This is very much a conversational kind of chat stream, like group line of thought.
Group line of thought. That's a great way to put it. I love the asynchronous.
Yeah.
That it's asynchronous, right? I love that aspect about it. I think that is actually very useful and very unique in that sense. So yeah, I mean, I went in really excited about it, kind of being like, okay, what are the possibilities here, right? As the weekend progressed, I think certain things started to kind of show up, etc. I think you spent more time with it. I'm still curious to see what happens, but maybe provide for folks a little bit more of your insight since you spent a little bit more time in AirChat than I have.
Yeah, so one of the things that I did as a musician, and this is kind of where my day started positively, was I was able to set up my recording studio with my microphone and like pipe in the music I was working on behind my voice so you could hear the music while I was talking and things like that. And people thought that was really novel, and that got a lot of attention and all of these things. And those were the things that, like, whenever I look at a piece of technology that's new like this, I try to push, how can I do it different? What can I do to mold this? How do I bring my personality, who I am, into this? And then the other side of my brain kicked in. After kind of like the noise died down, and it was 11 o'clock on the West Coast, and it's got a pretty small user base right now because it's not fully public. So I started poking around on it and started realizing the things that weren't there. And that's what's interesting about this app, is it has some really unique limitations that make you think creatively around the things that are missing on purpose, right? Like you don't have access to the front camera. Right. If you use video, and I think their implementation for video is absolutely silly because it stays the size of the little icon bubble. It's kind of neat that it does it. But that was one of those things where I'm like, wow, that actually is not that easy to implement. That's a lot of development time for a feature that's not actually that important. So those things were what stuck out first. And then I said, it's social media. There's got to be some horrible corner of this thing somewhere that someone's not aware of, right? Like, it's the internet and people are just awful. I'm going to go find that. And that's when the facade of it all really broke for me. And I came to the conclusion that it should not be live yet. And it is irresponsible to have pushed this live. And I have a larger question as to how it has gotten through Apple's testing.
That's interesting. Why?
So they're working on it now because I've raised such a stink on it, but there was no protection dictionary on generating usernames.
Okay.
That is, to say that's shocking is an understatement. This is a practice that has been around for like a decade. This is not hard to implement. These dictionaries exist everywhere. I learned how to do this in the beginning of my development career, and you do it so people don't put naughty words, racial slurs, whatever in their usernames. You don't want that, right? The stuff that it would give me a green check mark that said, oh yeah, you can register this, was appalling. Stuff that I do not want to ever say out loud, and definitely felt awkward even typing it to test it. But I felt like it was at least necessary. I have absolutely never hit enter. It was just shocking how many times I got a check mark that said, yes, you can actually do this. The amount of racial slurs and cuss words and things that you could throw in should have never. And I don't know what the Apple process looks like for getting approved for things like that. And maybe that's not something that they check for. But if it's not, that's quite shocking.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, I think, irresponsible from a developer standpoint that they allowed it to have basically an open public launch. They had infinite invites, right? It was invite only, but it wasn't like limited. Now they've limited it because they got such a huge flood of people coming in. So please don't ask me for invites. I don't have any more. But it just was weird to me to see a development company with such brilliant minds behind it push a product basically out on iPhone, get it into the store, and basic protective development wasn't put in place. There's no report button like anywhere. So if you come across someone who is being sexual harassing or they're being just awful and threatening and violent or nasty, whatever, borderline pornographic or full on pornographic, there's absolutely no way that you can report that. You can block them and you can mute them, but there's no like moderation tool.
Reporting feature, right?
Yeah, like that. Not that I could find. And then that led me to the question of, oh wait, I'm playing music in the back of my I think they call them chits. That's like their
weirdest word. I'm like,
chits.
why? Okay.
I'm like, oh, that's that one lisp away from it being real bad.
I mean, they probably did it on purpose. Like, there's a little play there.
Sure. Yeah. I think I said to you, I think that's batshit crazy.
You did.
Yeah. It is one of those things where all of a sudden now I'm thinking about all the legal ramifications of this application, right? If I'm able to play music in the background of my chit as I'm talking, well, that's my music. I produced it. I'm fine with it going out there. Like, that's fine. But there's nothing stopping me from doing the exact same with like Cowboy Carter, like bringing Beyonce into it and like, or Taylor Swift or whoever, like the Beatles, whatever. That there's no functional moderation tool for that. And as far as I could find, I couldn't really find a terms of service that said this is what we allow and what we don't allow. So there were these things that, you know, in 2024, we've been doing this a long time. It's not like social media is the Wild West. It's absolutely not. We are aware of it and we know standards and we have expectations. And all of the last decade of this is how we do social media correctly and fairly and freely, gone, just non-existent. That bothers me.
That's really interesting. It's interesting is that it was like, I feel like the weekend, everyone was talking about it. Now, not that many people are talking about it, or maybe my group of like early adopter friends, like they're all in there already.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And no, let me be clear. Like, I'm not finding a lot of like horrible things on this app. By and large, people who are in it are very lovely people. I'm having great conversations. It actually had the chatter, for lack of a better word, the chatter had to die down long enough for me to be thinking about the corners because there was no one for me to talk to. So I started poking around and I was like, oh wait, where are all of these things that should be here? So it isn't like, oh, this is a super toxic place, but it is a situation where if it does go to the mass public, I'm not stupid enough to say it won't become a toxic place. It absolutely will.
Yeah.
Unless something gets adapted. And maybe it's coming, but it shouldn't have been this public without these.
Do you think people would pay a membership to be like
that
to
was
use
that was the other question that I didn't have an answer to, is what their financial goal was, because it is an app that you can not look at. Like, you can simply not look at it. In fact, most of the time when I was using the app, it will auto scroll to the next conversation and keep the conversation going. And anytime you want, you just like hit your button and you can start talking, going feedback. So I'm not seeing things as much as I am on like Instagram, which is very focused on bringing your eyes
visual,
to the screen.
Same as TikTok, right? Very visual.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of, I do like the fact that I don't have to be visually engaged, right? Because I'm not, like visually, and I just need to hear it. I don't need to be visually engaged and hearing it at the same time.
But then what happens when the ad becomes like a commercial in between your conversation? I don't know if the public is going to go. The other thing I have is I don't think the public, by and large, as a person who I started my radio career in 2002, and I would bring in artists and musicians and interviews all the time. And I would say 80% of the time, that's just a made up number. The person that I would bring on, they would hear themselves and they go, oh, I hate my voice. That was something that I heard quite a bit. And I don't know if the mass population wants to hear themselves. I don't know.
I don't know. I think people do.
I think they want to be
people do want to hear
heard.
themselves. I mean,
I think they want to be heard, right? Like that's where you have,
Yes.
that's where text is important. I think that's why things like Twitter did work. I think that that's why things like MySpace and Facebook were early like launch successes. I just don't know if, I mean, the human voice is a very intrusive sound. It's hard for people to even talk over each other. It's very easy for people to interrupt another person and that person just stop talking. So
yeah.
do I want to, every time I open my phone, have my phone talking at me?
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know if I want that, but you
Right.
could still read it though. Like
You can.
you could read AirChat. Like
you can mute it and you can read
mute
it
and read it if you so choose to.
Yeah.
But
you cannot type into it.
You can't type into it.
So if you come to something and you want to make there's a couple of things that I thought about. Like it is definitely not an application you can really use at the bar, right? Like if you're out with friends, you know, and you're scrolling Instagram because whatever they're talking about doesn't interest you. I typically do that during the month of March, during March Madness.
You better not do that when we're hanging out, Lee.
I don't. Yes, I do. It's a habit. But you can't do that with this. You could read, but you cannot contribute unless all of a sudden you're just like, hey, hold on one second. And you hold your button down and you're like, no, I disagree with that. I think it's this. That's kind of awkward. It is an application. This sounds so horrible. It's an application that I don't think anyone should ever use on the toilet. And that's a litmus test, right? Like that's the thing. Like,
yes.
You know, you just got to think about like, how do you use social media? What does it really do? You know, it unchecks a lot of boxes.
That's a good point.
To some extent, I like that. But to others, it's like, oh, this is kind of weird.
So, and one thing I did find out because I wrote the article in Forbes and then I wanted to share a link. I was like, how do you share a link? So Brian, the co-founder, kind of told me what to do. And I was like, okay, great. But I think a lot of people spent the weekend trying to figure out the UX, like how do you navigate this? How do you post? How do you connect with people? Like all those sorts of things, right? Like the jury's still out. Like that's my perspective. I got really excited because I saw possibilities, right? Wrote the article because I like, you know, writing about things really fast before most people. And I had a lot of time that day. But yeah, like I think the jury's still out. Let's see what happens. You know, AirChat might not be what people are talking about in a couple weeks.
It may not be. And I will say the one thing that concerns me, and this goes at leadership of the application. I have seen favoritism being already played to people who are like elite into like the technology zeitgeist. And if you're really there to build an app where everything is considered to be, everyone has a voice and everything is equal, you can't really play those favorites. And I will give you the example that I'm talking about. Sam Altman joined AirChat. I happened to be online when he did that. So Naval introduced him and said, this is the one and only Sam Altman. Please don't berate him, like, you know, which is all very fair, you know, it is kind of things like if you get invited, the person who invites you introduces you to the public. But Sam was given a 4-letter username. And as far as I can tell, he's the only person who has a 4-letter username. You cannot create a 4-letter username in this application. So he was given preferential treatment. And I actually called Naval out on it. And I said, interesting that 4-letter usernames are available if you were like deemed worthy.
If you're Sam Altman, right?
Yeah. He's the first username that I saw, and people were asking, hey, how do I get a 4-letter username as opposed to the minimal 5-letter? And I know that seems petty. I know it sounds petty and not a really big deal, but it is one of those, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, if you're trying to build this website, if you're trying to build this application where it's a level playing field and everyone has the same access and voice and stuff like that, that was a weird look.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is it really ever a level playing field? Like,
no, it's not.
Never.
It's not. It's not.
I don't think so. Is. So I don't know. Plus, I can understand why he would say I want it to be at Sama or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like the same cross is like, you know. So I don't know, but that's an interesting point. I think that's a very valid point. I think let's do this. So let's go on break, and then after break, we are going to talk about AI. And we're definitely going to talk about some shopping technology and some things happening in the space. So let's go to break.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD Advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply. Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
All right, so we are back from break. There is no expert interview this week. So Lee and I are just going to continue talking about the news of the day. So Lee, let's go into AI because I think it's something we always talk about here. A few things we wanted to talk about is Apple's claims that its on-device AI system, RealM, I don't know how to pronounce it, substantially outperforms GPT-4. It's a new AI model that could let Siri remember your conversation history, understand what's on your iPhone screen, and be aware of surrounding activities, such as recognizing the music playing in the background. This was kind of like a low-key, like kind of announcement or statement, I feel, for how important it could potentially be. But what are your thoughts around this? I mean, I think you have a lot of thoughts, especially with your current relationship with ChatGPT.
Yeah, I mean, I actually canceled my ChatGPT 4 subscrition last week.
You finally did.
I did. It's done. Mm-hmm. It's done, and I don't miss it. And I've actually moved over to Gemini. Okay. That was just an easy switch for me because saying you substantially outperform ChatGPT 4, right now is not much. ChatGPT 3.5 almost outperforms GPT-4 for some reason. Like, it has gotten just really bad, really laggy. It does not remember its conversations. It cannot retrieve past, things that you've put into it. I don't know what they've done over the last 5 months, but it has just increasingly become unstable and unusable and basically only hallucinates, right? So yeah, I believe Siri is about to outperform GPT-4. It's not a huge hurdle at this point. We'll see what happens. And people have told me you're being too negative on it. And it's like, no. I've seen it get worse. It's the only technology I've seen decrease in productivity in the course of its increase of popularity. Yeah. Like, it has gotten better and somehow, like, it's gotten bigger and gotten worse with no explanation. If anyone can do it, it's going to be Apple. I think Apple has I'm speculating here, and this is based on, like watching Apple come out with like the R1 chip for the Apple Vision Pro. It will not surprise me if they have a proprietary chip for whatever their AI system is looking like. I think that's going to be par for the course for them, and we're going to see that continue to grow more and more. But the fact that it's called Real LM or Real M with the L and the M means it's a language model. This is not necessarily like a generative imaging model. So we'll see.
Well, I think it plays well into the fact that, I mean, Siri, people have been working on revamping Siri, like whether they call Siri next Siri, Siri X, or not even Siri, right? But that has been coming for a long time, like that revamping of their voice assistant and the voice technology. So, I don't think it's far fetched to think in June we're going to hear more about whatever new Siri might be. How does she work with Real M, Real LM, whatever it's called. So I think it's all part of this bigger plan that Apple is going to bring to us in June, right? And at the end of the day, it's about on-device AI. Like I always say that, like at the end of the day, they sell hardware. So they're going to have to infuse this into every device, right? So it's not just about the language model, but it's about the container for the language model and where it's used.
Well, and that does lead to an interesting question, right? So like your phone can go into airplane mode and it still provides service. It has things that it does. I mean, it doesn't provide like cellular service and data service, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I am curious as how like an AI LM from Apple may work, because right now every AI system we have access to is in the cloud. It doesn't do anything locally. And so there will have to be connection for that, which means that you will lose that. And I don't recall, I don't use Siri that often. Does Siri work if you are on airplane mode?
I've never tried Siri on airplane mode, but we should definitely,
That's something I've never even thought about.
I'm Google that. That's a really good question, Lee. I don't know. I don't use Siri that much.
I don't either. And I think that's a big problem is they want people to use Siri and they don't. A lot of people don't. I think this goes back to one of the larger questions I have about how humans interact with technology. And that is, do they actually want to hear their own voice? So yeah. That is that's the new announcement from Apple, and we'll see more of that coming in probably the next couple of months.
Here's what I'm finding on the interwebs. Apparently, it kind of does work. Like if you're dictating to Siri, like she can still manage stuff like that. She might not be able to pull other stuff, right? Like
sure,
Siri,
you
blah, blah,
like
blah,
if it's got to search for data or
like
something
dictation,
like that,
things like that. That would make sense why it would still work. So the answer is yes and no. Yes and no. So we'll find out. Okay, I want to move on to other AI news. This is very, very important to preface this story that this is an art project. Okay, this is a provocation from creative minds. So this is not an actual product. It's an art project. It is called Nuka, and it is a new camera that can undress people almost in real time. It's a new deepfake camera as an art project that shows how AI can undermine reality and privacy by nudifying its subjects. It's a provocation. It's meant to create conversation around sending a message about AI and deepfake porn and everything that's happening in that space. So we had a really interesting exchange.
I gave you an answer you weren't expecting
about this, about Nuka. And once again, it's an art project. It's not a real product, right? It's not a real deepfake camera. It's a provocation. But thinking through a lot of what's happening with deepfake porn. And by the way, if people are interested in going down that rabbit hole, Lori Seagal from Mostly Human Media is doing amazing work on this. I'm trying to find, some of the people that are creating these deepfake porn things and so yeah, I think it's a really interesting provocation. Do you want to add anything, Lee?
Well, I mean, when we were talking about it, you had sent me the article and I looked through. I was like, well, honestly, if that camera gave me the 6-pack abs on the dude in the photo, my Instagram would be more interesting. Like
Be
that
fire,
would,
right?
yeah. It's just
And then I replied, shallow much?
Yes.
Is that all you got from this article?
The whole thing is shallow. Absolutely. No,
Oh, man.
it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is,
then I
that
went
got
on
me.
to suggest you open an OnlyFans if that's the
Yeah,
case. But
no.
hey, not gonna happen, everyone. Okay, don't try to find Lee on OnlyFans.
Yeah, please no, I'm not there. It is one of those things where I guess if you had to get people's attention to really take the concern seriously, this would be the way you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it is a larger growing problem that every day I wake up, I look at my news articles that come in through various sources, and there's always one article about this topic, about the problem of like AI growing and creating deepfakes and creating unapproved pornographic content, whatever you want to say. And it's starting to hit, the public schools, and it's starting to hit in areas that like where we have people who are incredibly vulnerable, and there needs to be something done and does need to be addressed. And the only way you can address it is undress it and just take it for what it is and say, okay, what do we do to make this stop? What are the actual legal teeth that need to go in place? And I'm not seeing enough leadership that are willing to take this conversation up. That's problematic.
It is problematic. And I think that's why looking at maybe some of the work that like Lori's trying to do is important. And, talking to your lawmakers, trying to understand where they stand on this, if they're trying to do anything.
And don't be surprised if they don't even know about it.
I don't know. I mean, well, yeah, you know what? Probably they don't. I'm being too optimistic.
Yeah.
Right. Because even if someone was asking me, I'm going to Capitol Hill tomorrow, and I've got all these like events, and someone was asking me like, oh, they're interested in that and like XR and spatial, and I'm like, yeah, but maybe it's the lawmakers I'm in contact with that are like part of more of that techie cohort. But the majority of them are probably not very aware, or they're not, it's not a big concern to them.
Well, when if you've got your contingent or not contingency,
your constituents,
your constituents, and you're looking at everything coming in, and you've got 3 messages that are about AI and like deep fake photos and things like that, and then you have 50 messages that are, why are eggs so expensive? Right? Like it just, you just have to go with the weight of it, even though for the sake of humanity, eggs being a little bit more expensive isn't nearly as important in the long run as getting control over deepfake AI in like the public school system.
Yeah. So
it's hard. It's such a weird balance.
So we'll have to see. We'll keep our eyes on, what continues to happen there. Maybe I'll invite Lori on the podcast. I think
that'd be amazing.
She should be a great guest. All right. So more AI news. And I still haven't gotten my AI pin, by the way, because there's like a step I have to do to like do this, like do the subscription. I haven't had a chance to do it, so I haven't gotten mine. So I've only tested it at events, but the humane AI pin reviews are coming in, and it's not looking pretty.
No, it's pretty rough. Is one of your options to cancel?
I don't think so. They already took the money. Can I return it? No, I actually want it. I don't care. I actually want it. I want to put it here in like, my I don't want to say tech graveyard, but in my collection. Displayed in my collection. I still believe that thing can do cool things. Like, I don't know.
So yeah, a lot of articles and reviews came out about this device, the Humane AI pin, and they were all bad.
Excruciating.
I
felt bad reading them.
Yes, there's a level of it where you're just like, stop, it's already dead.
Don't be so mean. Literally, I was like, oh my God, this
leave Humane alone.
Don't kill it before. Yeah, it was bad. But maybe what were some of your favorite?
Marcus Brownlee. So it started, I read an Engadget article, which is always a hit and miss for me. But then Marcus Brownlee on YouTube, who does great reviews of things. And I love his ability to review a product and be not only painfully honest, but also still highlight the things that it does well. And so if there was someone who, if you're looking for the honest review of don't get this, but kudos for at least trying to build something new, I would say Marcus Brownlee put out the best one. And the title of his YouTube review was something like, "This is the worst product I've ever reviewed."
Yeah.
And he still was able to highlight some things that were still very incredible by this technology.
Yeah.
The thing that he highlighted, and he did, this hurt a little bit. He did a lot of, in the early part of the video, a lot of comparing some of the design flaws that he found in it to the Apple Vision Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's interesting.
Everything he said was fair, right? He's like, why are you building things that you're supposed to wear out of metal and glass? Stop it. I know it looks good. I know that it makes it look premium. It makes you think you can justify a $700 for a pen, price tag, but it's too heavy. Just like the Apple Vision Pro. If they had released it in plastic and if they had paid attention to the design growth of the Meta headsets, there's a reason those things are in plastic and not in metal, because it's just too heavy. You end up saying, well, it doesn't feel like if it's not metal and glass, it doesn't look like an Apple premium product. Well, if it's too heavy, then you just paid $3,500 for a paperweight, right? Because it'll just go on a desk and not get used. I think the Humane Eye Pen, that was kind of their first bigger issue. And he gave it credit for the design of the battery is brilliant. Having the fact that it can do that, and it's got a little magnetic clip battery behind it and allows it to keep on going. But by having to induct the battery through the clothing makes it very warm.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you've got another issue here. It is what it is. I don't even know how much longer we can talk about it as new tech, because I just think it's headed for the scrapyard as a project. I don't think there will be a Humane AI Pen 2.
That's interesting. Because there is this mad rush towards AI hardware. So I could see how some VCs might come in and continue funding. I don't know.
I could be wrong. I never have been able to gauge what VCs are willing to dump buckets of money into. That is such a weird practice. I don't VCs just get hyped about something if it works for them or works for whoever is backing them. Yeah, money will go in, and I have never been able to peg what.
That being said, I mean, this thing will have a lot of competition, right? With the R1, and then Johnny Ive and Sam Altman talking up with Emerson Collective on AI hardware. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the longevity of this is. It is a first generation,
Yeah.
That being said, I think if you say first generation Humane AI Pen compared to first generation Apple Vision Pro, those are two very different things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even if we were to go back and say first generation iPhone to the first generation, Humane AI Pen, they still missed the mark. They took some real gambles. That whole built-in projector thing, very interesting.
You never liked that.
I didn't.
When you first saw it, you told me this is not going to work.
Because physics.
Because
a projector,
reality.
because the projector can only get as bright as the light to which it is surrounded by, right? So it just didn't make any sense. But I can applaud someone at least trying it. I don't know how you go through testing and continue with it.
I like the premise, though. I like the premise of what Humane stands for. What Humane was attempting to do, right, is create a different way for us to engage with technology. I think my biggest thing is that when you have this type of new hardware and you have to learn new gestures and new ways of engaging with technology that might not seem natural, because that's what I hear as well, that's friction. That's something people don't necessarily want. How far are you going to go to have this new device and learn all these new things? Does it really matter? Do you really want that? That's what I think, for example, a Vision Pro does really well. It's you have a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get it, it reads your hands seamlessly. Like
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
So I have an issue with that part specifically.
Yeah, I agree. Although some of the reviews, including Marcus Brownlee's
Yeah.
review, highlighted that the new gestures are as intuitive as they could possibly be.
Yeah.
Given like the limitations of what the hardware is and where it's located and things like that. So okay, hats off for trying something new, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made the end of that video makes her, and this is your TLDR spoiler alert. The end of the video makes a really solid point of you're still competing against the phone.
Yeah.
And the cell phone is so stinking powerful.
Yeah. So true.
And it's just not a thing that people have said, I'm sick of this thing. I wish there was something better. Said almost no one. I'm sure someone has said that, but it's not something that you're just seeing a huge outcry by humanity for. I wish the phones would go back to being smaller. But and I hear that quite often. I hear a lot of people wanting phones the size of the SE and not these Pro, massive cell phones that are borderline tablets.
It would be better for my little purses, like my little, when I travel.
Yeah, it'd be better for everyone's pocket.
Like these little like going out purses. Like the smaller would be better. But anyway, that's just me thinking fashion. Yeah. So, okay. Well, Humane, we're going to leave you there with Humane. I feel so bad. I feel so bad reading those reviews, but I still have to get mine. I don't even know. Like, I don't know if I want the subscription, right? Do I want to pay for it? I don't know. That's question.
That was one. So the R1 put out after this like blitz, they put out a marketing of their own, and it was very much hounding how they are subscription free.
Yep.
So $200 subscription free. Now,
and the R1 actually gives you, people don't know this, but because I bought it early, they actually gave me a $200 credit with Perplexity.
Oh, interesting.
Which is super useful. I use Perplexity almost every single day. It's like my go-to AI tool.
Well, speaking of that approach, that's part of why I'm looking at Gemini AI as a replacement for ChatGPT 4, because it's still $20 a month. So it's the same like subscription, but it comes with like 2 terabytes of Google Drive space and a bunch of other stuff that it comes with basically an elitist package of Google Suite deals that ChatGPT just doesn't have.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So, all right. So moving on to our last segment, we promised we were going to talk about shopping tech and kind of, shopping tech and some things related to that, let's say. First piece of news here is that Amazon Fresh. So Amazon Fresh is killing the just walk out shopping technology. It never really worked. Apparently AI checkout was actually powered by over 1,000 human video reviewers in India. So it wasn't all AI automated. There were actually, people behind the scenes, working on these things. Elves, let's not call them elves, but you know what I mean, like the Canadian concept. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I went to the first Amazon walkout store, Amazon Go store in Silicon Valley very early on. And then where I live, we got one of the first Amazon Fresh grocery stores. Right. And I enjoyed the cart, shopping with the cart the dash cart that would read all your, would scan everything. They had many issues still. But yeah, this is interesting to me because it was promising. Like to me, it felt very promising. Like the DC airport, it just got a whole bunch of like walkout technology from Amazon. So I don't know. Like, did you ever experience it? What are your thoughts?
I did. In Seattle, and I was like, okay, this is very strange. I was always I was never comfortable in the situation because I was always afraid of like, I knew there were rules, but they were very unclear of like, if you take something off the shelf and you put it in your cart or someone if you can't reach something and someone else asks you like, hey, can you reach this? Don't get it for them because then it gets billed to you. There were all of these weird, subtle rules that were happening. So it made it just a little bit more complex. I didn't like that. I kind of always had a sneaking suspicion that there were people behind the scenes. I don't know if elves is bad. My last name's Keebler. I'm very up on the elf culture. We're always kind of behind the scenes making things happen. But yeah, it just felt like a thing of like, no, there had to be a human touch here.
Yeah.
Where the computer's not really doing this. Seems to be right. And it very much had that don't peek behind the curtain vibe while I was in there. It just didn't feel, you know what it was? It felt like an experimental like pop-up. It never felt like it was going to be permanent.
I guess because I had the grocery store right around the corner, like it didn't feel like that because it's a giant, it's a pretty big grocery store, right? But the smaller Go, like the Amazon Go stores, I did feel like I was being watched. Like it's an experiment. Like, yes, like they're studying human behavior or something, right?
Yes.
So that's a
very,
really good
very
point.
much that. I'm a little surprised. Well, and the other part of it that always made me think this isn't truly automated was the fact that Walmart never experimented with this. Target never experimented with things that are truly automated. Like think about how fast self-checkout swept all companies, right? Like all of these brands had started bringing them in because there was a provable product that had data behind it. Now, whether that was a good idea or not is up for debate, but
some of them are backtracking. Like some
as they should.
So,
I agree with those. I never liked the self-checkout approach. But I understand why they experimented with it. And there were aspects of it during like COVID lockdown where I was actually thankful for it. So take that for what you will. But the fact that Amazon was the only one that was actually ever doing the just walk out and pay structure made me think something's not being said aloud. There's no way Amazon does this and no one else is experimenting with it unless there's a smoke, a mirror, or a curtain that I need to pull back.
Well, definitely there were some elves working in the background. So, okay. The other story that we wanted to talk about, and this will be our last story we're kind of talking about. It is, I mean, it's not shopping tech, but it kind of is related to e-commerce and everything. There was a great article in The Atlantic. The Atlantic always has such great articles, but this one was the web became a strip mall, talking about how domain names once used to give the internet a sense of place, right? They used to be important, like business.com sold for $77.5 million. Like it used to mean something. Domain names used to be like the most important part of the .com era. Like what name did you get? Right. But then nowadays they're really kind of meaningless. I think the only domains right now that I think are like relevant or like people are paying money for is like a .ai. And not even that. I think people are finding other ways. You and I have talked before about how like I used to have a domain shopping addiction, not an addiction really, but like I would like buy all these domains and think like they would be something big one day.
Yeah.
I've stopped doing that. Like I've actually cut down a lot of domains. I'm like, what does this even mean? Like why am I'm never going to use this.
Is there like a self-help group for that? Because I'd like to join.
I know you're in the same boat.
I have not cut down.
Domain.
Yeah, I have not cut down that addiction at all.
You're still doing it? I'm like, no, why would I do this? Like
every once in a while when I have like a business idea that I'm probably not going to follow through with, but it has just such a really clever domain. I will tell you where I do domain squat a little bit.
Where?
As a writer, I try to buy domains for titles of books that I'm writing.
Oh, okay.
Just as precautionary, right? $20, and I only ever like set it up for a year because by the end of the year, if I've not completed this book, if this is not something that I feel like is going to move to the next level or go to publishing, then I'll just say no, I'm not going to do that. But I came out of live events. I came out of the radio industry, and like anytime that there was like a live event and it was named, if it was going to be reoccurring, I would try to like get the domain name for that.
Yeah.
It's not as valuable as it used to be, but as someone who has held on to like 5-letter domain names, like my music performance, last name being Keebler, I went by Keebs for a very long time. That's what all my music is published under.
That's your artistic name.
That's my artist name. And I bought Keebs.com back in like 2003. And I've had it ever since. So my email address, for anyone who wants to know, Keebs@Keebs.com. That's not a secret. Like if you find me on LinkedIn, it's like there, right?
Is that the one you use for OnlyFans as well?
No, of course not. No.
Sorry, I had to.
It's only Keebs. No,
the real Keebs. There you go.
but it is kind of like nice to be able to have such a short like domain name email like that, but it is becoming less prevalent. I don't like that it's becoming less prevalent, not from an investment standpoint, but from the fact that the internet, and we've talked about this, is dwindling down to a handful of websites. And once you cycle your day through like maybe 5 websites, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've got Instagram. So for me, it's like Instagram, Reddit, LinkedIn, Gmail, and like Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it didn't used to be that way. I mean, you used to be able to spend hours surfing the web, finding unique, interesting websites that had, stuff you didn't know before. But now we just moved all of the world's knowledge to Wikipedia. We moved all of the world's content to Instagram and YouTube. We moved all of people's opinions over to Twitter and Facebook. Like there's just not the World Wide Web has become the neighborhood wide, not like one-way street. It's all just kind of, you go to those places, and then as they either grow or die off or meld into something new, you find a different thing that does the same thing you were looking for. I'm a little disappointed by where the web is in 2024. I'll be honest.
Yeah. But I think that, the web it's evolving and, it's evolving, hopefully for the better, maybe. I mean, that's my hope. We'll
it's never been for the better. It's never been for the better. It's just not.
Yeah. Well, you're so negative sometimes. I'm like, oh, it might be good. It might be better. So we'll see. But anyway, I think we're going to now pass it over to Lily, our producer from Dispatch from the Fringe, with a really interesting Inception style kind of story. So Lily, take it away.
Hello, Kathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe. Have either of you ever seen Christopher Nolan's movie Inception? In the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is tasked with inserting false memories into a target's mind. Well, this same kind of attack can happen to anyone who uses VR. Specifically the Meta VR headset. In an article from MIT Technology Review, a group of researchers at the University of Chicago discovered a security vulnerability in the Meta Quest VR headset, and they are calling it the Inception attack. What they can do is hijack a wearer's headset, steal information, and possibly with the help of generative AI, manipulate social interactions in other apps like VRChat. A hacker would do this by creating an app that injects malicious code into the MetaQuest headset and then launch a clone of the VR system's home screen and apps that would look identical to the user's original screen. And once inside, attackers can see, record, and modify everything the person does with their headset. And with inside-out tracking, even look into someone's own home. They can track things like voice, gestures, keystrokes, and browser activity, and their social interactions. Plus, they found that they could even change users' messages to other people. But don't worry, this attack isn't live in the real world yet. First, your headset has to be in developer mode. The University of Chicago researchers asked 27 people to volunteer as the VR experts and play Beat Saber. While the participants were playing Beat Saber, the researchers injected the Inception virus. And out of the 27 people, only 10 people noticed a kind of glitch on their screen, and only one person flagged it as suspicious activity. In another scenario, the wearer was asked to pay someone $1 through the headset, and the researchers were able to change that amount transferred to $5 without that person realizing it. So again, this Inception attack has not yet been used in the wild, and the research has not been peer-reviewed, but it's a great case study as to the new dangers and security vulnerabilities in VR. We already know that what you do in VR, you can do then in the real world. That's why it's so great for training. but we have to keep in mind the vulnerabilities that come with using virtual reality and other headsets that blend digital and physical in our world. All right, see you next time.
All right. So yeah, VR headsets can be hacked with an Inception-style attack. Yowzers.
Yeah, I mean
know.
these are patches that will get taken care of in time, and this is kind of where you can get into someone's headset and see like through their developer mode, which what's kind of funny is if you want to sideload games, you have to use developer mode. So now you're kind of pushing people into utilizing this. These are things that, Meta probably has to eventually find workarounds and solutions for. But yeah, I mean, everything that's a device has vulnerabilities and you just kind of have to like know what you're doing. It's going to get really strange when we inevitably have like brain computer interfaces tied in with like VR headsets. And now you can like see how people are like their physiological being is like reacting to things inside of like a virtual space and what value that data has. And if that data gets stolen, what does it mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
The future's terrifying.
The future's interesting. Like I always think about like when you can tap into someone's visual cortex and memory bank.
Yeah.
Like what does that mean, right? Like the power of memory, the power of what we remember, what is a value to us, and how that could potentially be used, for manipulation. But that's a little bit more sci-fi, right? Like getting in there is going to be a lot more complicated. So
it's sci-fi for now.
For now.
But everything that we have now was pretty sci-fi 20 years ago.
Good point. I remember all those videos of like Arthur C. Clarke talking about people using mobile phones and things like that. And it's like, it's exactly what we do nowadays.
Yeah.
So very interesting. But I guess that's the show for today. Lee, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for everyone that listened to Tech Magic. Please subscribe, download our episodes, share the podcast with other folks. Reach out to us if you have any comments. We are thrilled to be here every week bringing you the latest in technology, innovation, and gaming.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bullspend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.